Because you're looking at this arc now. We talked about hang time with a box kick, right? So essentially, if you side swipe on your swing, you're going to side swipe the ball. You want your leg swing to follow that same trajectory. So if I'm aiming somewhere up here, right, and that's kind of ideal target for me, I come around and make my little semicircle. I'm going to try to strike the ball in the nose of the ball. That's a preference thing. I like that. It helps me have more control on it, right? Come underneath of it. I obviously can't kick in here, but when I do come through, I like to do what's called, I call it a little bit of a clam motion. So I come up, it helps me keep my head and my shoulders down. Got my hand up here to balance me. Come through, and you can see I just kind of clam a little bit, almost as if I was closing up. So I come through, close up, helps me keep my head down. There'll be a tendency for a lot of kids to come through and pick their head up to say, that's an awesome kick. You know, I really like that one. That's pretty cool. I guarantee you that if you get them to just keep their head down, they'll know as soon as it hits their foot if it's a good kick or not. They'll be able to tell you that was an awful kick. Well, that's the best one I've ever done. Right? So it's just about repetition. There's not really a whole lot to this in terms of kicking with the box kicks. So basically, like, let's see. Yep, so we want to focus on the drop. You want to make sure you've got it nice and extended. Another important point I forgot to mention, you don't want to toss the ball up. All right, you don't want to be throwing the ball up in the air to kick it. You want to just let it go and have it drop down to the ground and meet your foot. Strike point we spoke about, you want to strike the nose of the ball. Trajectory and hang time we spoke about, it's going to follow your leg swing. You want to follow through your kick the same way that you follow through your pass. So you want to kick through the ball, not at the ball. That's why these times we're kind of keeping our leg out here when we're doing our single leg stuff. We talked about our target area. So a little bit of a contest you can set up for one scrum half or two scrum halves. If you look at it, you can think about setting up a box on the 22, or setting up balls on the 22. So you're talking about, how many do I have up there? 5, is it? Or 3? 5 kicks each spot. Yep, 5 kicks each spot. So you're talking about, you put 5 balls on the left-hand side, 5 meter, 5 balls at the 15 meter. You go to the other side of the field, 5 balls on the 15, 5 balls on the 5. You set up a box about 20 meters downfield, exactly in those parameters that I talked about, 5 meters off the sideline and 15 meters from the sideline as well. You create a larger box and you create a smaller box. In this situation, in this contest, for this format, you can set it up wherever you want. This is kind of just mine. Hypothetically, you get basically, what do I have there? 5 points for the larger box. If it drops in the larger box, 10 points. If it drops in that small one, that means your accuracy is obviously much better. You get minus 10 if you kick it out of bounds, because guess what? If you kick it out of bounds, the ball's coming back to where you kicked it from. So, you know, that's obviously really, really bad, and you want to avoid doing that. So that's kind of, you can do that as a contest with all of your scrum halves together. You can do it with just one and continue to pressure them throughout the season. Have different points in time where you test them. You say, like, all right, we're going to do a box kick test now. We're going to do a box kick test in 2 months, 3 months, and see how much better their accuracy and progression is getting. So now I'm just going to, the last point I'm going to make here is this rolling line drive kick. So essentially with this one, a little bit different. Some of the mechanics are saying a little bit different. My strike point's a little different. My leg swing's a little different. So in this situation, this is kind of you're kicking for territory. You're kicking to put pressure on the other team. You find in a situation where you're kind of somewhere in the middle of the field. You've got a breakdown. You're kind of stalled out. You're not really going anywhere. And when you're in the central part of the field, you'll find that the wing is up and the fullback is also central, because that's kind of the way that back 3 have to play, right, on that swivel system. So that opens up a corner. But if you pass to a 10 on this side, immediately that fullback will start to drift across, and that hole will close. If you can kick from 9, and you can get it over this line, and drop it, and roll it into that corner, that's a really well-executed kick, right? And that's this line drive rolling kick that I'm talking about. In this situation, same kind of concept. You got that little semicircle arc coming around, but now this time, I'm going to try to strike up here toward the top of the ball. Right? I'm going to try to strike up here toward the top of the ball. And when I drop it, I kind of want to let my wrist turn a little bit so that as I make contact with it, it's going to be dropping toward my foot and hit this part. Does that make sense? If I keep it straight like this and I try to kick it here, there's likelihood that I get underneath of it and I slice it. But if I let my wrist drop just a little bit, right? If I let my wrist just drop a little bit, the ball naturally tilts, and now there's a smaller surface area for me to kick right through here. And again, like we talked about with leg swing and hips and trajectory and everything else, I want to bring my leg through and across this time to kind of pop it over the line and get it into that corner. So if I was just basically setting it up kind of small, it would just be from here over the top, a little bit higher obviously. I don't want to kick anybody kind of out of here, but does everyone kind of get the point on when to use that, why to use that? Yeah? Alright, so that's kind of the